Hey guys, this is Blake and you're listening to the Three Hand Hunter channel. So glad that you guys are here with me today. You know, we're going to talk about the Zelos Blacktip. And I'm going to give you my point of view of this watch as an owner, not a reviewer, not somebody who is just given this watch, somebody that's actually owned it for a while. And I want to give you my thoughts on it. Maybe we just stop here. It's a great watch. Okay, there you go. It's done. We're over. No, I'm just kidding. I want to really give you my thoughts on this watch because it is a cool watch and there's so much to like about it. I gotta say though, with Zelos, I've never owned a Zelos. This is my very first one and I've loved the brand. I've loved the uniqueness of their watches, like the Swordfish or the Mako or the Horizons. I've actually loved their watches, but actually more, well, I don't want to say more, but almost as much as I've loved the watch or the watches as they've come out, came out, excuse me. The uniqueness of the watches, the way the designs are just very original. I think I really enjoy the brand themselves. One of the guys that I share my watch enthusiasm with here locally, he has many Zelos watches and he's dealt with Elshon, I believe that's the owner, and he's had great experiences. Fortunately, I haven't had to deal with him because this is a really premium example of a Zelos. This watch is perfect. Okay, this is the vintage black colorway of the Blacktip. But I think the brand itself is amazing, and it's out of Asia, I believe Singapore if I'm not mistaken. But let's talk a little bit about this watch. So this watch, it's very wearable. 41 millimeter diameter. Okay, the lug distance, the lug span or wing width is 47.3 as I can measure it. The thickness is 12 millimeters. The website says that the thickness is 11.5 without the crystal. And you can see this is a slightly domed raised crystal, but that's a thin watch. It is a skin diver. Skin divers are notoriously thin, but their water resistance in the past have always been like 100 meters. This is a 200 meter water resistant watch, and I've swam with this particular watch. It swims and performs perfectly in the water. It's got 20 millimeter lug width, which is perfect. If you saw my NATO video, I have 1,000 NATOs that I've worn this watch with, and it looks great. One of the best features of this particular watch is, I'm going to talk about a lot of the great features too, is the turn down lugs. You notice how those lugs turn down? That allows it to hug your wrist. And when you have a NATO strap, because it's so thin and those turn down lugs, it just hugs right on your wrist. I love that. Also, let's talk a little bit about some of the details here. The movement is a Miyota 9015. It's got a 28,800 beat per hour, I think is that the BPH. And so it's got a very smooth sweep. It is a little loud, the rotor wobble, but I don't mind that. I actually like a little bit of rotor noise because it tells me the watch is alive, and that's probably one of the reasons why, and I'm sure you do too, love automatic watches. I'm gonna get a little closer because I want you to see the details. You know, they always say the devil is in the details. Well, look at the details of that dial. I know I'm flashing the studio light in here, but look at the indices. Look at the chamfering of the indices. Look at the dual colored lume, the vintage lume and the other lume that's on there. It is amazing. The framed out date complication, the applied logo. I mean, it is gorgeous. Look at the red tip of the second hand and look at the writing. I know it's a little difficult to see here. The cursive writing is so classy for this watch. It's maybe a little difficult to see. Wish I had a macro lens, but I don't. So I'm not much of a photographer, so I'm just doing my best. So bear with me. Okay, let's talk about the bezel action. This is perfect. Now listen, let's see if you can hear this. I mean, it is, and you can grab it from every angle. Look at the way the bezel protrudes away from the case. That's very vintage skindiver-ish. If you've ever owned an old vintage skindiver, they all kind of pop out like that. It's gives it a really cool profile. I mean, the look is just, it's pretty amazing. But let me get through the bezel here and bring it all the way around. It's very easy to grip from every angle, which is nice because, you know, not all divers, you can feel that. It lines up perfectly. Okay, no back play whatsoever. Okay, ceramic bezel insert. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that here in a moment. I want to talk a little bit more about that. But it's nice and ceramic. It doesn't, you don't have to worry about it dinging up, and I'm sure it could crack if you dropped it or something, but it gives it that extra sturdiness, right? The dual loom. I'm going to give you guys a loom shot a little bit later, but the loom is pretty cool, especially even, this is a vintage, like that vintage radium loom look. It has a loomed and signed bezel, or a bezel, crown, excuse me, which is way cool. I wish more brands did that. You know, you take a Seiko, and you're lucky if your Seiko has a you know, a signed crown, let alone a, you know, loomed crown. I don't think I've ever seen a loomed crown on a Seiko, and I've owned plenty of Seikos. Let's talk a little bit about the bracelet. H-link bracelet. Okay, female end links. It droops off of your wrist. It just, I mean, look at the articulation. It's gorgeous, and it feels so great. I have another with me here. I have another H-link bracelet. This is a Manchester Watchworks bracelet. Is not as good as the Zelos, but it's H-link. They're super comfortable, right? Let me get this watch again. But you know, the coolest thing about this bracelet, well, there's actually two really cool features. A, you got quick release, so makes strap changes incredibly awesome and easy. We also have drilled lug holes, which is nice, especially if you put an old vintage you know, strap on there. It's easy to just pop it right back off again. You don't have to worry about, you know, doing too much damage underneath here, underneath your lugs. But this is the coolest feature. Let me go ahead and throw this on the wrist so you guys can see it. Now, you know, it's summer. When it's summer, you need a little bit of extra room here. Milled clasp, beautiful clasp. It's very Omega-ish, I would say. You know, this clasp is perfect, right? But looky here. That is a quick adjust on the fly. You just pull that back, and you can adjust the bracelet, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit tighter. When, you know, the hot summer months. If you're a bracelet guy, it doesn't get better than this. Well, for a micro brand anyway. I'm sure if you bought an Omega or you have a Rolex Submariner, but this watch is a fraction of the cost. It's a 10th, if not a 20th of a Rolex. And the quality, the build quality you get for the price. Oh, so I'll just say it. I'll say it. I know you hear it all the time. Punches well above its weight. Yeah, I hate it when people say that too, but you know what? For the Zelos, it does. And you know what makes this so cool? It's not a homage. It's a skindiver style, but this isn't a homage of any other watch. It's its own unique thing, and that's the thing I love about Zelos. They do, you know, you have this micro brand, I believe out of Singapore, that they take chances and they do really cool things. If this watch isn't for you, well, then you should at least try Zelos, because they do some cool stuff, and what you get for the price is pretty amazing. Okay, I have to mention, it wears, this watch, I know I just had it on my wrist. I'm gonna put it back on my wrist again. This watch wears like a dream. You know, it does. And there's a drawback to this watch, and I'll talk about them, but really the biggest one is that crown. Now you might say, well, what's wrong with the crown? It's actually a little small. It's a little hard to grip. And you know, if you have to do a date change because your watch has been sitting for a few days or a week or something, it might be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but come on, it's just a small crown. It's just a little smaller than, like if you take like this Persista here, you can see the difference in the crown. I mean, the crown's much bigger on this military-inspired watch than a skindiver, but you know, so what? One of the other things I love about this watch is it's super easy to read, super legible. And I have some watches that you look down on my wrist and I'm like, what time was that? But with this, never question. I mean, look at the handset. It's like that squared off look, but it's so cool and so easy to read. And you know, one of the other things that I love about this watch, it's a limited edition. Now, Zelos may come out with another, like version 2 or version 3 of this particular watch. Probably will, because it's a blacktip and it's super popular, but they're all numbered. And I love that. I love that about this brand. It's a limited run. And that's one of the nice things about microbrands. There was a video recently by another YouTuber who talked about the, will microbrands increase in value? His name's Watch Chris. I actually really enjoy his channel. He was talking about how, or will these watches actually increase in value over time? I think companies that do their own thing like Zelos, I think because they're limited editions, because they're doing something different, I think that gives this particular watch and this particular watch brand the ability for that to happen in the future. I may be wrong, but that would be my gut instinct. Okay. Now, from an owner's point of view, I'll tell you, I'm gonna lay it with you straight here. I have this watch. We haven't connected. I have other black dial watches and divers, and these are all keepers in my collection over the years. And I'm not 100% sure if this one's going to be a keeper. But what I will tell you is, even if it's not, it will be a watch or a watch brand that I would happily buy another one of, because of the brand, what they're doing, and and their uniqueness of their models. Now, I want to really quickly give you a loom shot of this watch. Now take a look at the crown. Now, how cool is that, right? I mean, the dual colored loom, it's beautiful. And it holds up against some of these Seikos. Now, this is a marathon, so it's a tritium dial, but anyway, you can see it up against other watches. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. If you own a Zelos or you've been interested but you have some questions, jump in the comments section and let us know what your experiences have been. All I've heard is just great things, nothing but great things, and I've really enjoyed this particular watch that I've owned. And like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it, but that doesn't mean that I won't buy a Zelos in the future, because it is such a cool brand and such a cool watch. But my name is Blake. I'm a bit of a watchaholic, and I'm assuming if you've made it this far, you're probably one too. So I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.